All right, Aries, thanks for tuning in to your February of 2015 horoscope. My name is Athen. All right, so leading into February, back in January, there's a lot of emphasis on your perhaps work, career level, needing to balance perhaps home and family matters with the career matters. But in either case, I think, enjoying the career type of activities. Now, that's going to lead into this month, along with perhaps some of the things you've been doing in the 11th house, which has to do with humanitarian, group, friends, anything that has to do with you helping or contributing to the community, local community, or the global community, which of course has to do with technology, the internet, and these types of things. So whatever you've been putting energy into, that's going to be actually a big emphasis for you this month in February. It's that 11th house. It's also the house of ideals. What you see in the future in terms of what's best for you and everyone around you. So good energy there, and you'll definitely be supported. There's the flow for you in the 11th house in terms of perhaps, expanding the friendship sector of your life, perhaps getting involved in anything group or humanitarian, on that sort of level. Also, for those of you still involved in your work this month, it's about putting in that sort of service-oriented energy of the 11th house. The 11th house, ruled by Aquarius, it's a very angelic house. It's about giving and being of service, very other-oriented. There's a lot of emphasis on that area for you this month. Also with the configurations of the planets too, which I'll talk about. So the first aspect of the month, we've got Venus going conjunct over Neptune. And this is where we started off with this sort of selfless compassionate sort of energy when Venus goes over Neptune. That's what this is about. It's this unconditional love, this unconditional acceptance. And it's happening in that 11th house. So this could be, perhaps somewhat, something new in terms of a spiritual activity that you're involved with that 11th house, with the groups perhaps. With Neptune in your guys' 11th house, this is where, it's been very good for you to get involved in things like yoga or meditation workshops or meditation retreats, where it helps you connect to not only the spiritual elements of life, but in a way that's kind of group or collectively oriented. So for those of you involved in those types of things, you'll find around the first very peaceful and tranquil time in regards to that. And for those of you who can bring more of those elements into your life, which we always can, the first could be a time when perhaps you do something in that level. It could be just mundane, that's a good day for you to, take some peace and some meditative time for yourself. But all in all, with the 11th house, it's about getting amongst friends, going out and doing perhaps some of those spiritual or present sort of things with others in that sort of community way. So the first, very good there with that compassionate sort of energy. Now on the third, we've got the full moon, and this is in Cancer. And so last month, perhaps needing to balance, the work and the home and domestic sort of life or family. That's going to be a very important emphasis here for the first half of the month, especially around the third here. But in either case, it's an illumination. And for those of you who have been involved with things around the home, or changing locations or renovations, any type of manifestations that you've been putting into in the home and family sector, this is where it could become very illuminated and you could become very aware of it, and there could be some abundance as well. So for those of you who've been actively working in that sector, this could be a time of fruition for you. But overall, it's a good time to just see how your home and domestic life is doing and to put that positive lunar energy into, cultivating, in this sense, really nurturing that part of your life. Now on the 6th, we've got the Sun going opposite Jupiter, so again balancing the 10th and the 4th house, because the Sun is still going to be in your 10th house. So just make sure you do have that healthy sense of balance between, the work or public stuff with the domestic part of your life. But in either case, it's a good sense of optimism, a good feeling of optimism that can be put into good use into both of those areas. Just make sure you're keeping that nice balance. Now on the 8th, we've got Venus going over Chiron. And so perhaps, with the group activities or the friendships and this sort of community humanitarian sort of stuff, this can feel really good actually around the 8th for those of you involved in those types of things. Very freeing as well with all of this energy taking place in Aquarius. And of course, that's what your 11th house is all about. So again, a good time to be amongst friends. So just do those things. You'll find that very healing. Now on the 11th, we do have Mercury going station direct. He's kind of behind the pack here, and he's still in that 10th house. So this month, first part of the month, especially around the 11th, you guys have been reflecting on perhaps the work, how you can increase and benefit that part of your life a little bit more, how to improve it a little bit more perhaps, and how to think long term in terms of your overall future, which of course usually does involve the work and career and public stuff, but really just being able to see your overall life and choosing to make some adjustments or seeing where there can be some improvements, because Mercury does rule Virgo, which is about improvement. So that whole reflective sort of period, use this time up until the 11th to think about this. And then on the 11th, when he goes station direct, that's when you can really start to put in that energy. All those things you learned about that 10th house, start applying it for the rest of the month. And that'll be some very good disciplined energy to put into all areas of your life, specifically to the work, career, and anything on the public level. Now on the 12th, we've got Mars going into Pisces. And this is where things start to shift in terms of your spirituality and perhaps taking some meditative time. Mid-month, you're going to notice perhaps a drive to make sure you're getting enough rest, getting enough sleep, all of these 12th house related things, perhaps even working behind the scenes in some particular way. But you'll notice that that presence that you have in your everyday experience is actually going to be very good for you to do things. It's that motivational sort of energy. So use the time from the 12th onward to, of course, get that rest and relaxation you need, but also to make sure that there's that presence in your everyday experience. And it could be a motivational force to perhaps do some things in terms of spirituality or meditation that you have been considering doing. Now also on the 12th, we have the Sun going into Aquarius, and this is where there's even more emphasis in terms of the groups and friends. Very passionate energy, very creative too. This is where a strong creative element can be implemented with your friends, such as creative projects or things you're involved with in a group level. But in either case, again, an emphasis here in terms of that 11th house. So for those of you really considering anything in the 11th house, this is an even better time to do it from the 12th onward, because the Sun will be there. It'll be very passionate, very enjoyable, and very freeing as well, again, with that Aquarius energy. And that's going to lead you all the way into February too, with that 11th house. Now on the 15th, we've got Venus going into Pisces, so now the planet's starting to go into the 12th house for you, leading with Mars, now with Venus, and this is also taking you into March as well, which is again behind the scenes activities, reflecting. You're coming up to a brand new solar cycle here. So making sure you're getting enough rest and relaxation. But in either case, you'll find this very enjoyable. And again, anything spiritual you're involved with your friends or with your relationships, it's a really good thing to merge that sort of Piscean energy. Very compassionate too. Spiritual connection to your relationships and people in your life. Now on the 18th, we've got the new moon, and this is in that 11th house. So perhaps this is when something really starts to begin in terms of the groups and friends, the humanitarian, your ideals. And so pay attention around the 18th, because again, there's some awareness here, but this could be the new, 11th house activity that you're starting to become aware of, that's cultivating in your life. And again, that's going to lead you into March as well. Now on the 21st and 22nd, we've got Venus conjunct up to Mars. Very strong physical passion here. We've got the yin and yang elements combined, the masculine and feminine, which is, for those of you who are single, this is a time to really get involved and start getting active in terms of meeting people. For those of you who are in relationships, and this is of course all relationships too, not just romantic, there's a good passion here. But in the romantic side of things, it's a good energy, a good time to really do things physical with your partner and go out, have fun, be active. That Venus and Mars coming together is very powerful. But then again, all this activity in your 12th house, this could perhaps have to do with, again, groups or anything relating to that. You'll find that very peaceful too with this all happening in Pisces, very compassionate, this sort of spiritual connection in your relationships. Now the last aspect of the month, on the 25th, we've got the Sun going conjunct over Neptune. And this is in that 11th house, again, of groups and friends, the spiritual connection, whatever it is. The 25th is a very good spiritualizing time in terms of those 11th house activities. All right, Aries, so let's go and draw a card and see where Spirit would like a little more emphasis for you this month. Okay, Scorpio. Well, there it is. That's your 8th house, and perhaps this is an indication to talk a little bit about Saturn, because Saturn's been transiting your 8th house in Scorpio. So there's this whole grounding element to this whole spirituality, right? There's a lot of emphasis on your 12th house, but the 8th house is also about spirituality as well. So let's not forget about the grounding element taking place here in terms of your depth and inner connections. It's like, while there's a lot of surface things happening, there's a lot of air activity here in Aquarius this month, there's still this underlying deep emotional connection. So I think this is a reminder from Spirit to keep that deep emotional connection to what you're doing. That's where Saturn is grounding you, making sure you're taking that nice disciplined approach in terms of these spiritual, connections and underlying connections. Are you really connected to your work, really connected to your friends, and really getting perhaps more of the quality versus the quantity element of it is what's really standing out to me. All right, Aries, well, thanks a lot for all of your support. If you like this video, please help spread the word of Sidereal Astrology. Please comment, like. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you'd like to share a little bit about your experiences this month and maybe in January, please comment down below. Hope you guys have a fantastic month. Please get in touch if you'd like a personal reading, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.